Hello my friends, thanks for tuning in today. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, please do me a solid and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. So what we got today is pretty exciting. I've went through and carefully curated a list of games that I am looking forward to, games that I think you will be looking forward to as we look into the future of 2023. Now I gotta say, there are a lot of games coming out. When I first looked at the list, I thought, you gotta be kidding me, all these games are coming out this year. And these are only games that are really coming out in the first half of the year. So this whole video will take us from January to June of 2023. There's still more games to come out. They just don't have hard release dates yet. So we're going to focus in on the games that do have release dates. And there's about 30 games that are going to be on this video that are games that I think you need to put on your radar. So stay tuned. Our first game on the list is an interesting title. It's called Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. And it's coming out for PC, PS5, and Nintendo Switch. And in this game, it's I guess it's a side-scrolling action platformer, channeling the golden age of classic 16-bit action games in a refined, full-throttle quest for revenge. In the oppressed world of Vengeful Guardian Moonrider, humanity finds an unlikely hero. After building an army of super soldiers as weapons of war, the authoritarians unwittingly seal their own fates by bringing online the ninja warrior known as Moonrider. Concealed as a tool to preserve the totalitarian state, the Moonrider instead rejects its intended purpose and wages a relentless battle for vengeance against its creators and fellow super soldiers. Powerful modifier chips are hidden and guarded throughout the adventure, allowing you to customize the Moonrider's fighting style while gaining killer advantages and abilities. Sounds pretty sweet. I mean, just taking a look at the game here, it kind of sounds like it's going to be a little bit Ninja Gaiden and a little bit Contra, which is exactly why this game is on my radar. One interesting thing to note based on the information we have is that you'll be able to upgrade the main character by collecting modifier chips that are hidden throughout the game, allowing the player to upgrade their fighting style. That's definitely nothing we've seen before in any Contra game in the past. You know, you can get like different weapons throughout the game that you can pick up, but we've never had, I guess, the ability to actually upgrade your characters, which would be pretty cool. I'm excited. I mean, it looks like a modern day Contra, something I wish Konami would give us because their last effort was pretty poor. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. Next up on our list is Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable. Now both games are going to be coming out here on January 19th. And you'll be able to access these games on all consoles, including PC. What's exciting about these games is that the Persona series in general is one of the most adored and highly rated JRPG series pretty much known to man. If you Google the top PlayStation 4 games of all time, Persona 5 is more often than not the #1 game on the list. And to me, that speaks volumes since we know how many masterful games there were on PS4. So I'm excited to kind of take a dive into the lore of this series to learn more about it. Persona's been around for a long time. I just don't think it's been on everybody's radar, at least not in the beginning. The first game came out on PS1 back in 1996, and I know it was on nobody's radar back then. But it totally should be on your radar now. And this is a game that I'm looking forward to playing. I'm looking forward to playing both. I'm going to have to find the time for it. But Persona is a special series that probably don't want to miss. Next, we have Monster Hunter Rise coming out on January 20th. In Monster Hunter, the player takes the role of a hunter tasked with slaying or capturing large monsters using a variety of weapons, tools, and environmental features to damage and weaken said monsters while trying to survive their attacks. Successful completion of the offered quest provides loot, typically in the form of various monster parts from the monster, which are used to forge new armor and weapons that can be used to take on more powerful monsters, forming the series' notable core loop. So my take on this is that the first Monster Hunter game appeared all the way back on PS2 in 2004, and the most recent Monster Hunter title, Monster Hunter World, holds an impressive 90 overall Metacritic score. So the series has not only stood the test of time, but appears to be getting better with age. And this new PS5, PS4, Xbox Series version is going to run at 4K 60 frames per second. So what's not to like there? Forspoken is our next title, and it's a PS5 exclusive coming out on January 24th. So in Forspoken, the protagonist, Frey, is a young woman who is transferred from New York City to the fantasy world of Athia. She uses magical powers to journey through it and survive in order to find her way home. Frey has access to a variety of magical spells. Following each combat encounter, the player will earn experience points. Frey's cloak can be upgraded in order to improve her combat, efficiency, and stats, while applying nail polish unlocks special abilities. That's interesting. The player can also craft new items or rest at a safe location in order to restore health. So Forspoken is the debut project for Luminous Productions. The company was originally assembled from employees working on Final Fantasy XV. So you could say it's got some good pedigree. Now this game was initially set to be released on May 24th, 2022. Then it was delayed to October 11th, 2022. And now here we are, it's coming out January 24th. So it's had a few delays. My take on it is I played the full demo and featured it last month on the channel. I enjoyed the game enough that I'm eagerly awaiting the review scores to come out. Now, am I going to pre-order this game? No. Because even though I liked the demo, I didn't love it. So if the game reviews well enough, I'll check it out sometime this year. Probably making it a Black Friday 2023 pickup. Next on our list, we have Dead Space Remake coming out on January 27th for next-gen consoles and PC only. Now, Dead Space is a remake of the 2008 survival horror video game by Electronic Arts. It was released for PlayStation 3, 360, and Windows, and it was the debut entry in the Dead Space series, which was good enough that it spawned 2 numbered sequels in 2011 and 2013. So basically, you're set on a mining spaceship overrun by deadly monsters called necromorphs, following the discovery of an artifact called the Marker. The player controls engineer Isaac Clarke as he navigates the spaceship and fights the necromorphs while struggling with growing psychosis. My take on this is, I played and beat the first Dead Space when it released in 2008. Thankfully, because I never revisited the game, I'm confident that I won't remember any of the finer details, and I can truly experience the masterpiece again, like it's my first time. I believe that the creator Glenn Schofield and sound designer Jason Graves greatly succeeded in their original vision by crafting a very scary and tense survival horror game that turned out to be, like I said, quite the masterpiece. I distinctly recall being hesitant to turn down corners in this game because it was honestly that scary. So I'm super excited to revisit this one and just see what the power of the PS5 can do. Coming up next, we have Deliver Us Mars releasing on February 2nd. So Deliver Us Mars is actually a sequel to a game called Deliver Us the Moon, which actually won a few awards. Deliver Us Mars is, as you would imagine, an atmospheric science fiction adventure offering an immersive astronaut experience. So you explore new frontiers on a suspense-fueled, high-stakes mission to recover the Ark colony ships stolen by the mysterious group Outward. I see here that the game's going to take place 10 years after the last game. And in this game, humanity is closer than ever to extinction. Sounds familiar. My take on it is, I'm excited to play this game because I did thoroughly enjoy Deliver Us the Moon. So naturally, I'm going to be excited to play the sequel on PS5. If you haven't played the first one, you can actually pick up the physical edition for PS5, which was upgraded to 4K 60 frames per second. And you can get it for like $25 on Amazon, regular price. If you don't want to get it on Amazon and you don't want the physical edition, you can get it digitally, of course, on the PlayStation Store. And you can usually get it on sale for less than $25. So it's all up to you and what you want to do. The game only lasts around 5 hours, and it's about 8 hours if you want to 100% complete the game. So it's not a huge time commitment, and it's totally worth it. I think you'd really enjoy this game. So this next game probably doesn't need much of an introduction, but that game is Hogwarts Legacy. And of course, this is the big Harry Potter game that has been in development now for a few years. I believe it started development around 2019. But it was finally here. It's been delayed a couple of times, not huge delays, which is good because the big delays, the long ones, are the ones that are really concerning. But it just had a few small delays, and this game is actually going to be coming out pretty soon here, which is crazy. But it's coming out February 10th. And if you have a Nintendo Switch, what's cool is you'll be able to play the game. Okay, but you got to wait a little bit longer. It's coming out on April 4th. So what the game entails, from what I've gathered, it's an action role-playing game. It's set in the Wizarding World universe. It's based on the Harry Potter novels and film series, including Fantastic Beasts. So in Hogwarts Legacy, it says players are able to attend classes at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Locations from the Wizarding World franchise will be explorable, such as the Forbidden Forest, Diagon Alley, and Hogsmeade. Other areas as yet unseen visually in other media include the Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw common rooms. Progressing through the game, we'll see the interior and exterior of the castle change visually to match the seasons. During character creation, the player is able to choose their appearance, house, and gender. Players will be able to customize their character's voice, body type, and add accessories such as glasses and character creation. So level progression will allow the player to access and upgrade different spells, talents, and abilities. So that's cool. Through in-game challenges, the player character will gain XP to gain levels. These challenges come in the form of combat quests, exploration, field guide pages, and room of requirement. So while house points for the 4 Hogwarts houses play a part in the game's plot, these will not be a gameplay mechanic influenced by player actions. So this game's going to take place in the 1890s, and it basically follows a student, which is what we'll be controlling. And the student's going to be in their 5th year. So as the player is starting at the school later than the other students, a wizard's field guide is given by the Ministry of Magic. And you want to complete sections of the guide through exploration. And the guide will provide additional information and experience points as you go along. My take on it is, one, of course, I'm super excited. That's why it's on this list. But, up until 2014, I had never watched any of the Harry Potters because I didn't know if I'd really like them. But, of course, I was wrong. Unexpectedly, my appendix almost burst, and I had to undergo an emergency appendectomy. So, of course, after the procedure, I took off work to rest and recover, and that's when I finally decided to have myself a Harry Potter marathon. Since then, I haven't rewatched any of them, but that's because if I really like something, I try to do my best to only watch or play it once and then revisit it like many years down the line so I can experience it again like it's the first time. So with that said, I am extremely excited for this game. I have it pre-ordered, and I just feel like it's one of these games that you're going to be able to sink like 100 hours into and you're not even going to notice. So that's dangerous, but I'm also really excited for a game like that. Next up, we have Wanted Dead, and it's coming out on February 13th. So Wanted Dead is a new hybrid slasher shooter from the makers of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive. The game follows a week in the life of the Zombie Unit, an elite Hong Kong police squad, on a mission to uncover a major corporate conspiracy. We play as Lieutenant Hannah Stone, a hard-boiled Hong Kong cop, and plow through mercenaries, gang members, and private military contractors in a spectacular cyberpunk adventure. A few of the bullet points here says you can use a wide variety of deadly moves and dozens of unique finishers to slice and dice. You can battle indoors or outdoors. You have a curated selection of weapons, assault rifles, SMGs, LMGs, and grenade launchers. Over 50 unique finishing moves. A crazy mix of advanced weaponry and low-tech 90s retro futurism. Interesting stuff here. My take on it is I think a lot of the footage sort of speaks for itself. You can definitely see why this game has a comparison to a modern-day Ninja Gaiden series, but then it sort of distinguishes itself by including gun weapons and, cool 90s cyberpunk setting. I also like that the game doesn't seem to take itself too seriously, sort of reminding me of the recently released title Evil West. So if anything, this is a game to kind of keep our eye on and see how it turns out, see what the reviews look like, because it could be a lot of fun. Next on our list, we have Tales of Symphonia Remastered. This game will be coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, and it's coming out February 17th. So this game originally released in 2003 for the GameCube and PS2, and is actually part of the larger Tales of series. The story takes place in Sylvarant, a world in danger of extinction due to the exploitation of mana by an evil group thought to be sealed away by the hero Mythos 4,000 years ago. My take on this is, hey, Tales of Symphonia, like I said, is part of the long-running Tales series of games. So if you like those games, you're going to love Tales of Symphonia, as it's actually one of the highest reviewed games of the series, with an 86% overall Metacritic score, and 93% of Google users actually enjoy the game. So I purchased this game on the GameCube back in the day, on day one. If I recall, I had it pre-ordered, and I just never got around to playing it. Life happened. I think if I recall back then, I was working 2 jobs pretty much all the time. But here we are, many years later, almost 20 years later, we're coming up on in just a few days here. And so now I'm going to try and make it right and actually play through this game and complete it and see what it's all about, because like I said, a lot of people love this game. So it's another JRPG to look forward to. So this next game I'm super excited about. I know I've said that about a lot of games, but this game's been in development since 2017, and so we're looking at 6 years now. It's coming out on February 21st, and it'll be on all the next gen systems, as well as Xbox One, PS4, and PC. You'll see as you're watching this video kind of how crazy this game looks. But Atomic Heart is the title, and it takes place in the Soviet Union in an alternate 1955. And no, I'm not talking about Back to the Future, but I could be, because that was the same time it took place. So advances in robotics in the 1930s enabled the USSR to defeat Nazi Germany in 1941, though with a much more severe loss of life. This results in the automation of Soviet labor and the development of a proto-internet called the Collective 1.0, linking these robots to a collective hive mind, vastly increasing productivity and scientific advancement by the end of the 1940s. So the main protagonist is a mentally unstable KGB special agent called Major Neklev, nicknamed P3. It's a lot easier. Who is sent by his contractor to keep the situation at Facility 3826 from deteriorating. P3 is challenged with taking out robots that went haywire, failed biomechanical experiments, and his own mental health. A wide variety of enemies is featured, which may be mechanical, biomechanical, biological, and some of which are airborne. There is a crafting system where the weapons can be pieced together from metal parts that can be detached from robots or taken from household appliances. This game sounds nuts. The players wear a special glove, the polymer glove, which grants him powers such as telekinesis, freezing, and electricity to defeat his foes. Its powers can be combined with both melee and ranged weapons. So, my take on this is, I'm super excited. Check this game out. I've been waiting a long time. Ever since it was first announced, I first saw a trailer. I thought this game looks crazy. I'm surprised they're even making it. But I'm happy it's here and it's coming. We're just literally 2 months away from this game coming out. Outside of the gameplay and the setting that we see here, the story is intriguing to me because it's just completely out there. And honestly, it sounds like a great time. It's clearly not going to be something super serious, but it looks like a lot of fun. I haven't pre-ordered this game yet, but I might. And if I don't pre-order it and it reviews really well, I'll probably pick it up on day one. This is, like I said, it's one I'm really excited about it. I've been keeping an eye on it for a long time. All right, here's another kind of nutty game. This game's called Like a Dragon Ishin, and it's coming out on February 21st. So the game takes place in 1860s Kyo, and it's plagued by a widespread inequality, and one samurai will change the course of history in his search for justice. We take up the sword of Sakamoto Ryoma and venture to Kyoto to find our father's killer, clear yourself of a framed murder, and restore your honor. It's key. In doing so, you will bring an end to the samurai era and forever change the future of Japan. Draw your blade, load your revolver, and join the revolution in this heated historical adventure that only the creators of Yakuza Like a Dragon could produce. So my take on it is, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It looks crazy. I think what interests me the most is that you play as a samurai who not only uses his samurai sword, but also wields a gun in battle. Clearly, samurais aren't known for carrying guns, so I like the fact that it doesn't make conventional sense. So this game almost sounds crazier than when American Tom Cruise was casted to play as the last samurai. I can't believe Hollywood expected us to believe that Tom Cruise was the last ever samurai. Come on, man. Okay, I know I've said it once before, but I'm really excited about this. So this is the PlayStation VR 2. Comes out February 22nd. I was lucky enough to secure a pre-order, so I should be getting it on day one, and we'll be able to feature it, of course, on the channel. Couple of highlights here. It's going to have 4K display. Awesome. The headset has 2 inward-facing eye-tracking cameras. It uses eye tracking to enable games to use foveated rendering, which it's basically wherever you look, that's where it's going to look in the game. It's going to have new controllers, so not the ones that PSVR 1 had. It's going to have their own Sense controllers. And just overall, I mean, it's exciting because this is on brand new hardware. It's going to push the limits. From everything I've read, this is going to be the most powerful virtual reality headset on the market. So that's pretty rad. I mean, for me, outside of having it pre-ordered, I'm just excited to play all these games. I have an Oculus Quest 2, and it's great. And, like, I enjoy it, right? But I want a better experience. I want to experience games that I actually like. You know, franchises that I like. For instance, like Horizon. You know, this is coming out on day one, Horizon Call of the Mountain. And I have it pre-ordered. You know, I like that game. I like that world. And to go into it in VR can be pretty sick. Next up, we have Horizon Call of the Mountain for PlayStation VR 2. Coming out on launch date, February 22nd. So this is a brand new Horizon adventure in development at Guerrilla, same studio as before. And this experience has been designed to push the hardware, technology, innovation, and gameplay. Stunning visuals, brand new PSVR 2 Sense controllers give a meaning to being fully immersed into the world of Horizon. So the story will be told through the eyes of an entirely new character, while you will also meet Aloy, other familiar faces, and new characters along the way. Enter a living, breathing world of dangerous machines, tribal lore, exciting quests, and new and returning characters. Explore a diverse landscape, embark on a journey with multiple paths to take, where you have to look around you to uncover the secrets of the mountain. It says you also use intuitive movements to climb vast mountains, hunt machines, shoot your bow, and craft items from raw materials. You know, my take on it is this game is exactly what I'm talking about as far as what I want to see out of PSVR 2. I want to see games that we already know and love and experience that world in VR. So you can look forward to watching me live stream this and look like a total goof, but it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to stream this on day one. Next up, we have The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution. Yes, that is the whole title, and it is exhausting to say. So this game had already came out for Quest 2 and the PC VR headsets. So during the last PlayStation State of Play event, developer Skydance Interactive announced that the game's much-awaited sequel is also coming to PlayStation VR and PlayStation VR 2. So, the synopsis basically of this game is you're going to play as a tourist, and it's said to feature an original storyline, more patented freedom of choice, and plenty of visceral combat and opportunities for bone-splitting melee. The game is also set to include new weapons that provide unique methods of combat not previously available. Sounds pretty gory. Skydance says the sequel will include silencers that help you avoid alerting the undead when using firearms. That's pretty cool. New guns like the SMG and sawed-off shotgun for better ranged horde control. And a chainsaw to tear through anything in your path, which the studio notes will come at the cost of its bulky weight and its need for fuel. So that's also pretty cool how they factor that in. So my take on this is Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 is a game that I did want to play, and I just haven't played it yet. So I'm kind of glad because Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 is coming out on PlayStation VR 2, and it's going to have, you know, improved visuals, improved controls, basically everything that you get with a new piece of hardware. So I'm going to get all those nice bells and whistles with the new game, and I'm going to get it on the old one. So I'm pretty excited. I do plan on playing this game. I think I'll probably end up pre-ordering it and playing it on day one on my PlayStation VR 2. One thing to note is the last game that came out got a 9 out of 10 on IGN. So Chapter 1 was a 9 out of 10. Which is pretty impressive for a game based on licensed material like The Walking Dead. So let's hope that this game turns out to be just as good as the last one, or even better. Our next title is called After the Fall, releasing on PSVR 2 February 22nd. So this game comes from the creators of the VR game Arizona Sunshine, which actually got really good reviews, a lot of positive reception there. So that's a good thing that it's coming from these guys. The story to me is pretty interesting. So it says set in the ice-covered ruins of LA, Los Angeles, nearly 20 years after the apocalypse. After the Fall combines a living, breathing VR world shared with players from all over the world, a cinematic and atmospheric campaign, action-packed solo and multiplayer gameplay, and endgame built from the group up for VR. So a little bit more information. It says a generation has passed since a mysterious outbreak caused by the excessive use of designer drugs birthed the terrible snow breed, infesting our cities and collapsing civilization. You, one of the survivors, seemingly immune to the side effects of the substances, are humanity's last hope of resurgence. Explore the remains of a civilization, ground it to a halt in an alternate 1980s, craft deadly weapons, and wield devastating powers with real-life movements. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, sounds really rad. I mean, you had me at alternate 1980s. Kind of weird. We have an alternate 1955 in Atomic Heart and an alternate 1980s. So this is definitely like the Back to the Future plot. Just want to get that out there. So this game originally released a few months ago in December for the Oculus Quest 2. But of course, the PSVR 2 version is going to be taking advantage of the brand new hardware. It's supposed to have improvements. I don't know what they'll be, but I'm excited to see this game. I'll be keeping a close eye on the reviews, and I hope it reviews well, because this is a game that I'd like to pick up. It looks really cool. The story sounds rad, so we'll see what happens. Coming up next on our list is Sons of the Forest. So right now this game is only coming out on PC, but it is supposed to come out on consoles after they've had a successful and stable PC launch. This game is scheduled to come out on February 22nd. And the basic synopsis of it is it's a horror survival game. It's a sequel to The Forest, which is on many other consoles. The Sons of the Forest gameplay is built on the foundations that help set the forest up for success. It's an open-world survival game where you're empowered to use the weapons, tools, and environments around you to fight back cannibal mutants and mitigate the effects of the elements. You'll be able to play solo or in co-op multiplayer sessions. So much like The Forest, the sequel focused heavily on crafting, cooking, and combat, the latter of which has been massively expanded to encompass more weapon types. Guns will be more prevalent, although ammunition will be limited, so Sons of the Forest will have more of a melee focus. You know, my take on it is The Forest, it was a great game. Am I excited to play the sequel? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If the first game's good, we're always excited to play the sequel, right? If you're interested in checking out this game, you can find it on the PlayStation Store for usually $20. And then it's often on sale for a lower price on the PlayStation Store. So I think the regular price is $20, but you can usually get it for a better deal. I'd say it's totally worth checking out. It's a unique experience. And it does seem like everything that made The Forest cool, they're going to be doing in the sequel and then some. So I'm excited to play this one. And again, as you can see, we're still in February, and there's so many games that have already, be out by this time. So it's going to be a really exciting first half of 2023. Coming in next on our list is Octopath Traveler II for the Switch, PS5, 4, and PC. This game comes out on February 24th and is a direct sequel to Octopath Traveler that came out in 2018. This is actually the third entry in the series after the prequel mobile game, Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. I did not play that game. So the game features a new cast of characters and settings separate from prior games. So you should be able to jump right into this game is basically what they mean. Similar to the first Octopath Traveler, the game plays as a traditional JRPG. The player moves between 8 separate characters, each with their own purpose for traversing the game world. Once again, each character has their own path action, a particular means for the player to have the respective character interact with non-player characters in the game world, often with the goal of getting reward items or characters to fight in support of their cause. So one thing new to this game is there will be a distinct daytime and nighttime segments of gameplay with path actions. And those actions will differ depending on the time of day. So for example, players can choose to make the character Hikari dual characters in the daytime in hopes of learning new skills for battle. But at night, there is the separate option to instead spend in-game currency to bribe characters for information or items. So that's interesting. Octopath Traveler, as you can see, uses a graphical style dubbed as HD 2D, an approach that recreates the 2D pixel-based graphic style of the 16-bit era of video games and portrays it in high-definition 3D diorama style. So yeah, the game's absolutely beautiful. This game only came out on Switch, so it's going to be interesting playing it on PS5 just to see if it takes advantage of the horsepower the PS5 has. My take on it is, hey, if you enjoyed the classic Super Nintendo PS1 era RPGs like Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger, Star Ocean, Live Alive, etc., this is a title that you'll want to pick up. Again, one thing to note, the first title only appeared on the Nintendo Switch, and it did come as a bit of a surprise that Octopath Traveler 2 would be releasing for the PlayStation without the first title releasing. But again, the good news is that the first title should have no story connections and can be played without playing the first one. So I thoroughly enjoyed the first Octopath Traveler, and that's why I already have this game pre-ordered. So you should consider pre-ordering this one. It's going to be good. Coming in next, we have Scars Above coming out for all consoles except for the Switch. And it'll be coming out on February 28th. So Scars Above is a challenging sci-fi third-party action-adventure shooter, combining the rewarding feel of overcoming difficulty with a compelling and intricate story set in a mysterious alien world to explore. A colossal and enigmatic alien structure appears in Earth's orbit and stuns the entire world. Humanity names it the Metatron. The Sentient Contact Assessment and Response Team, SCAR, consisting of scientists and engineers, is sent to investigate. Things don't go as planned, and the Metatron hauls the team across space onto a mysterious extrasolar planet. We play the role of Dr. Kate Ward, a SCAR member who wakes up dazed, alone in a strange, hostile environment. Determined to survive, you set out to find your crew and unravel the mystery behind what's happened. Okay, so sounds really interesting. To me, I really dig games that take place in outer space and on other planets. You could say that I'm of the mindset that I believe humans will colonize Mars in our lifetime, seeing as we all get to hopefully live to our life expectancy. With that said, games that can in some way give me a preview of what we might get to see will always interest me. And also, another thing to note is the game's only $40, which is a steal these days. So if we can get a good deal on a game and it's actually good and it reviews well, I'll pick it up. Next up, we have The Day Before, releasing on March 1st. So according to the developers, The Day Before is an open-world MMO survival game set in a deadly post-pandemic America, overrun by flesh-hungry infected and survivors killing each other for food, weapons, and cars. Search abandoned vehicles, houses, and skyscrapers as you scavenge for resources. Crush the infected and other players with realistic weapons, becoming a legend of the new world. Explore beautiful yet dangerous places with stunningly detailed vehicles. Take part in the restoration of the former society before it's too late. In the survivor colony, you can sell your loot and communicate safely with other players. So, my take on it is, hey, this is exciting to me because sometimes I really do think that we're not too far off from this scenario actually playing out in the real world. And that may sound crazy, but that's what I think. So what better way, right, to prepare than by playing a video game about our potential future? If I can succeed at this game, I may have a greater chance at survival, right? I mean, that's how it works, isn't it? Next up on our list, we have Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, coming out on March 3rd. So Wo Long Fallen Dynasty is a newly announced Souls-like, boasting many fantastical monsters in a feudal Chinese setting. It comes from Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, the developers behind Nioh, a popular Souls-like in a feudal Japanese setting. At the beginning of the game, players can create and customize their own player avatar and choose from one of 5 phases. The game offers 2 options for close-range attacks. To succeed in combat, players are required to deflect attacks using their melee weapons, as this will create opportunities for them to counter an opponent's attacks. Which again, that's what makes it a Souls-like game, because that's how the combat is in, Nioh, Demon's Souls, Elden Ring, you name it. Let's see. There's some other information about this game, but I think the biggest takeaway is that it's a new Souls-like game, and these games are a lot of fun. And they're very challenging. So if you lack the patience needed to play a video game that's super challenging, you may not want to pick this one up, okay? I'm super excited about it because I want a really good challenge. I enjoy the challenge of Souls-like games. I really enjoyed the recently re-released Demon's Souls on PS5 and Elden Ring. So much so that I went as far as getting the Platinum Trophy for Elden Ring, which that was tough. With that said, I enjoy the fact that the Demon's Souls games was linear to the point that it wouldn't take me a century to complete the game. And from everything I've read, Wo Long Fallen Dynasty will be more linear. So it won't be, open world like Elden Ring was. Again, I'm super excited. I already went as far as to pre-order this game. I pre-ordered it probably 3 or 4 months ago. And this is a game I'll definitely be live streaming, and I'm excited to play it. Next up, we have Star Wars Jedi Survivor coming out for PS5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. So this will not be available on Xbox One or PS4. So this game, the story of it is Cal Kestis, who was the main character in the last game, continues in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, a third-person galaxy-spanning action-adventure game from Respawn Entertainment, developed in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. This narratively driven single-player title picks up 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which was the last game, and follows Cal's increasingly desperate fight as the galaxy descends further into darkness. So no longer a Padawan, Cal has come into his own and grown into a powerful Jedi Knight. The dark times are closing in, with enemies new and familiar surrounding him. Cal will need to decide how far he's willing to go to save those closest to him. So the cinematic combat system returns with additional Force abilities and new lightsaber fighting styles. That's cool. New planets, familiar planets, new challenges, new Force skills, lots of new stuff. I mean, it sounds like they're just, building off the foundation that was laid in the first game, which is a great thing because I enjoyed the game. My take on it is, hey, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and I really enjoyed the prequel, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. If you haven't played that yet, you can pick up the enhanced version for next-gen consoles. It actually runs a significantly improved frame rate and resolution. And you can pick it up for $20 at Best Buy for the PS5 or Xbox Series at the time of this video. I actually checked just a little bit ago. So when I played it on PS4, and I sort of wish I would have waited and played it on PS5, but that's okay because, there's always other games to play. But yeah, if you haven't played the first one, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, pick it up, check it out. It's $20. The game will give you probably 20 to 30 hours of content if you try to 100% it. So it's definitely worth $20. And then you'll be ready for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, because I will definitely be ready for it on day one. The next title on our list is one I'm really excited about. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Coming out for PS5, 4, Xbox Series X, S1, and PC on March 24th. If you haven't played Resident Evil 4 yet, basically, players control U.S. government special agent Leon Kennedy, who is sent on a mission to rescue the U.S. president's daughter, Ashley Graham, who has been kidnapped by a cult. In rural Spain, Leon fights hordes of villagers infected by a mind-controlling parasite and reunites with the spy Ada Wong. So that's the synopsis of it. My take on it is I first completed Resident Evil 4 when it was part of the Capcom 5 as a GameCube exclusive. Having played the previous 3 Resident Evil games on PS1, I was thoroughly impressed at everything Resident Evil 4 had to offer. From the new shoulder camera perspective to no longer having tank controls, more action, more scares. It was a fun story. The villains were super creepy. This game kind of had it all. Since the original game released in 2005, Resident Evil 4 has been ported and released to a different platform 12 different times. Yes, 12 different times. It came out on MetaQuest 2, PS2, PS4, Android, Nintendo Switch, Nintendo GameCube, Xbox One, PS3, Wii with motion controls, Xbox 360, Windows PC, and iOS. So, pretty wild. Once I beat the GameCube version, I never returned to that unnamed rural village in Spain where the story took place. But you can bet your bottom dollar that I've already secured my pre-order, and I'll be looking forward to streaming this game on day one when it releases. I'm super excited to return. This was my favorite, and still is my favorite Resident Evil of the entire series. So, super excited to see it on the PS5. So, this next game is called Crime Boss Rockay City. And it's supposed to be coming out on March 28th for PC. And then later coming out on PS5 and Xbox. Now, I don't know what to make of this game. Like, you're going to see as the credits roll on this video all the people that are in this game. So it has a lot of actors in it, which is interesting. It's cool, especially when you see people like, Danny Trejo in it. Pretty awesome. To me, and of course Danny Glover, So I guess he was lying when he said he's getting too old for this shit in Lethal Weapon. Vanilla Ice, I mean, come on. This is nuts, right? To me, it looks like a Grand Theft Auto Vice City, like modern day, though. That's kind of like the gist I get from it. But I'm definitely interested to see how this game reviews. It's set in the 90s, so you got my interest there. It's got Chuck Norris, which is pretty rad. He plays the sheriff who is actually he tries to catch you, I think, in the game. I mean, he's definitely not on your team because Chuck Norris never plays a bad guy. Danny Glover's in it. Danny Trejo, Vanilla Ice. The game, it looks good. I mean, visually, it looks good. I just hope it plays well and it's a cool story and it reviews well. Because if it does, I'll pick it up. This is definitely interesting. And as we know, Rockstar just keeps re-releasing Grand Theft Auto 5. So right now, this could be the closest we get to a GTA-style game. And again, I don't know if it'll be like GTA. Obviously, it's a first-person game. GTA is a third-person. But as far as setting and everything like that and kind of being over the top, this might be our game for a little bit. Who knows? So hopefully it turns out well and it gets good reviews and it'll be worth checking out. So this is an interesting one to hit the list because it's not a new game, but it's downloadable content for the game. And that game is Dead Cells, and the downloadable content that's coming out for it is Castlevania. Yes, you heard me right. Castlevania. And it's coming out sometime in Q1 2023, and the DLC will hit all platforms. So if you haven't played Dead Cells before, it's a roguelike Metroidvania game. In the game, the player takes the role of an amorphous creature called the Prisoner. As the Prisoner, the player must fight their way out of a diseased island in order to slay the island's king. The player gains weapons, treasures, and other tools through exploration of the procedurally generated levels. So, this is called Dead Cells Return to Castlevania. And it's going to feature characters, weapons, enemies, and music from the Castlevania series under official license from Konami. So that completely sells me right there. I mean, I'm totally sold. My take on it is I adore every single Castlevania game up until Symphony of the Night. After that, it's kind of a crapshoot. But like the first used game I ever bought was from a video game store we grew up going to called Gamers. And I bought Castlevania II Simon's Quest for regular Nintendo. And I know that game is like most people's least favorite Castlevania, but it was my favorite. It still is. Okay. So then we have the Metroid franchise, right? And this game is a Metroidvania. So it's a mix of Castlevania and Metroid for anyone who is unfamiliar with that term. So two games I grew up playing on the NES back in the late 80s that I still hold very near dear to my heart. And we're getting DLC with Castlevania. It's going to add the characters, the weapons, and again, most important probably for me is the music. And I didn't see this one coming at all, to be perfectly honest. I didn't see like two different gaming companies coming together for a rad mashup like this. It's definitely not something I had on my bingo card as like something that was going to get announced at the 2022 Game Awards. But I would say one of the most defining and kind of memorable elements of Castlevania is its music. And the DLC is going to feature 51 original tracks from Castlevania. So I'm totally sold. If you've ever played Dead Cells, if you have the game, you should get the DLC. If you don't, you can get this game for dirt cheap on the Nintendo shop, the PlayStation store, the Xbox store, whatever it may be, PC. You can get this game easy. It's super low price and it's totally worth it. This game is seriously rad. The fact that they're doing this Castlevania mashup is going to make it super special. Next up on our list, we have Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC. Now, one thing to note is that this is going to be for PS5 only. And I know that probably is going to disappoint some people, especially everyone who bought Forbidden West on the PS4. And you're locked out of the DLC. It's unfortunate. I'm going to be able to play it because I have a PS5. I'm not trying to rub that in or anything, but I'm looking forward to it because the reason why it's only for PS5 is because it's going to take advantage of the PS5 hardware. Like legit, Sony said the PS4 wouldn't be able to handle the DLC. So I respect that. My take on it is, hey, I truly enjoyed this game. I played it earlier this year. I beat the game. I 100% platinumed it. So, of course, DLC, I'm going to be all over that. As you can see here in the scene, you got Hollywood being torn down. So, Burning Shores is going to take place in the ruins of Los Angeles. Based on the description that Guerrilla Games put out, it says it's an overgrown and fractured city that can be fully explored via the water and flying on the back of a sunwing, which is pretty cool. A massive machine threat lurks in its shadows, a huge challenge that Aloy must overcome by using all of her skills and abilities. Burning Shores sees Aloy pursue a sinister threat in the untamed wilds of Los Angeles, now a treacherous volcanic archipelago. Yeah. I haven't seen that word in a long time. She will be traveling to a dangerous new region south of the Tanath Clanlands, featuring a compelling storyline following from where Horizon Forbidden West ended. New characters, adventures, and more. So it's cool it takes place right where the story ended. I'm just super excited. Horizon fans are going to be eating good in 2023 because we have this DLC, and of course we have, the PlayStation VR 2 Horizon Call of the Mountain. So this is definitely one to look out for, and I would imagine it'll be well worth our money. Next on our list, we have Dead Island 2. So, of course, the first game came out quite a long time ago. It was actually in 2011. Came out on PS3 and Xbox 360. Very fun game. The plot is a couple of months after the events of Dead Island, the United States Armed Forces has put California under a full quarantine restricted zone due to a new and stronger zombie outbreak. So that almost sounded familiar for a second until they started talking about zombies. So again, Dead Island 2 is the sequel to 2011's Dead Island and is the third major installment in the Dead Island series. Well, my take on it is, hey, the first game was a commercial success. It sold over 5 million copies. So naturally, it was only a matter of time until we saw a sequel. If you're interested in playing the first title, you can pick up the definitive remastered original on the PlayStation Store for around $20. Completing the game takes about 17 hours, and if you're going for 100% completion and the Platinum Trophy, you're looking at around 50 hours. So you definitely get a lot of bang for your buck if you want to play the first game. If not, if you just want to jump into Dead Island 2, as you can see, the game looks like it's going to be pretty wild. I mean, it was definitely an over-the-top kind of experience. It doesn't have a super serious story, but it's fun. It's just a good time. And, that's what video games are about, right? So, yeah, I'll be picking this one up. Probably the most anticipated game of 2023. And not just for me, but for a whole lot of other people all around the world. And that's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, coming out on May 12th. So, we don't have a whole lot of information out in the wild, but we do know that Tears of the Kingdom is a direct sequel to 2017's Breath of the Wild. The game's received 3 trailers. The first was shown in 2019, kind of setting the tone that this would be a Breath of the Wild sequel. And as we see, Link and Zelda exploring some creepy looking ruins before the hero of time, Link, finds himself grappling with a glowing magical arm. The second Zelda trailer was shown at E3 2021, with this one showcasing gameplay for the very first time, which was pretty cool. It was through this trailer that we actually learned that Link will gain a suite of new powers thanks to his new magical arm, and that the playable space was expanding into the sky, which again is pretty wild. The latest Tears of the Kingdom trailer was shown during the Nintendo Direct in September 2022, so just a few months ago. It teased new story details, showed off some of the stunning sky vistas we'll be able to explore, and confirmed that the Breath of the Wild sequel will officially be called Tears of the Kingdom when it launches on May 12th, 2023. Now, outside of that, I don't know much, and I actually want to keep it that way because Zelda's really, really important to me. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you a quick little story, okay? So, the first game I ever bought with my own birthday money was the gold cartridge Legend of Zelda for NES. It was back in 1990 at Target. And my mom took me there, and my oldest brother, Richard, came with us so I could pick out a game to buy. And I already had my sights set on Zelda before even going to Target. At that point, we had rented the game before, and I had watched my brothers play and never really got a turn to play it. Classic, right? But I knew I could get further than that. I really believed in my heart that I could do better than they were doing. And, you know, I watched them play and I watched them try and get further in the game, and they never could, right? So we're at Target and we get to the video game section, and when I chose The Legend of Zelda, my brother Richard told my mom to not allow me to buy Zelda because it's way too hard and I won't like it because of that, and then I'll want to return it and I won't be able to because once the game's open, you can't return it. And it was like this whole scene in Target, and I was seriously, like, I was inside, I was so pissed because I'm like, this is my birthday, right? Like, I get to choose, and I rarely got to choose anything like that for video games because I'm the youngest of 3. And so, you know, they're not going to ask the 5-year-old, hey, what do you want, right? Like, it's the older brothers that usually got to make the choice because, you know, apparently they know video games better, which is not true, even to this day, obviously. I know more about video games. But anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent there. Let me get back to the story. So he told my mom it would be way too hard. I begged and pleaded with my mom in Target, but she took my brother's advice. And so I went home that day with Adventure Island. Okay? Not a bad game. Not a bad game. But that's what I went home with. So after playing the game for a few hours, my mom asked me how I liked my new game. I told my mom, you know, it's okay. And that, as you know, Mom, it's really not the game I wanted. And just because Richard says it's too hard doesn't mean it's going to be too hard for me, even though he's 10 years old and I'm only 5. So my mom sympathized with me and said, okay, I'll take you back to Target and ask to speak to the manager, and I'll see if they will let us return it, while reminding me that, hey, they usually don't allow you to return open games, like your brother had said in Target, but we'll give it a shot. So I was nervous in the car ride all the way there, not knowing how this adventure was really going to pan out, and if I was going to ultimately be stuck with Adventure Island, which, again, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it's not the game I wanted. And when you're in that situation, you have like almost angst towards the game, because it's like, hey, this isn't the game. Zelda would have been just 10 times better for me, right? So thankfully, the manager decided to make one of those classic one-time exceptions and allowed us to return Adventure Island in exchange for the adventure of a lifetime, The Legend of Zelda. I ended up beating Zelda when I was 7 years old. I remember the day. When I say day, I remember the morning because I woke up at like 4 something. I think 3:30 or 4 because I couldn't sleep. And I went into my brother John's room where the TV was because, you know, we didn't have TVs in our own bedrooms back then. And I turned it on. I turned the volume on real low so I wouldn't wake my brother up. And, you know, also part of getting up that early is ensuring that you get the controller first before your brothers. Because when they wake up, they're going to want to play. So if I get up earlier, I can get in there and play. And if they see how far I am, if they saw that I was at level 9, they would probably continue to let me play and not get mad. And that's exactly what happened. I'll tell that story probably on another video. But again, I beat it when I was 7 years old. I remember that whole morning perfectly. And since then, I've bought every single Zelda game. And I can't wait for Tears of the Kingdom to come out. I've played them all. I've beat them all. I pre-order every single one. I absolutely love Zelda. It's safe to say it's my favorite video game franchise. And I don't do favorites very often. I love all video games, but I absolutely love Zelda. It's made a real impact on my life. And again, that'll be another video. And I'll tell you guys about how I put beating The Legend of Zelda on regular Nintendo with no help, no internet, and no player's guide on my work resume. So next on our list, we have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And this is coming out on May 26th. So the synopsis is it's an action-adventure game developed by Rocksteady Studios, which is important to remember because they're an excellent, excellent company. And they made all of the Batman Arkham games. So we're talking Batman, you know, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, and then Arkham Knight for PS4. Excellent games. So this is the 5th main installment in the Batman Arkham series, taking place after the events of Batman Arkham Knight. And the voice of Batman is going to be played by Kevin Conroy in his final performance as Batman. May he rest in peace. So based on the DC Comics supervillain anti-hero team, the Suicide Squad, the game revolves around the team of super criminals who are assembled by Amanda Waller and sent to Metropolis to stop the alien invader Brainiac and save the members of the Justice League who have been brainwashed by him. So again, sounds like a pretty wild story. Really cool that they were able to have Kevin Conroy voice Batman for the last time. I think that's very special, and it's cool that it's in a video game. You know, my take on it is I'm a big fan of the Arkham series, and with Rocksteady behind this entry, I feel like we're in good hands, you know, much like we might feel with Allstate. One thing that's different about this entry is that it can be played not only solo, but 4-player co-op, which would be a lot of fun, actually. I want to say I think it's safe. It will be better than Gotham Knights that, you know, came out just a few months ago. But I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm not going to declare that. Obviously, it's 2 completely different development teams. So fingers crossed, though, that the 5th entry has the same magic as the previous 4 titles, and that Rocksteady just continues to live up to its name. And again, thank you, Kevin. So it's going to be pretty cool. I think there's a good chance I'll pre-order this one. I may wait for the reviews. We'll see, but it looks damn good. So next up on our list, we have Diablo IV coming out on June 6th. So Diablo IV takes place several decades after the events of Diablo III, after millions have been slaughtered by the actions of the high heavens and burning hells alike. In the power vacuum, a legendary name resurfaces, Lilith, daughter of Mephisto, the whispered progenitor of humanity. Her grip on Sanctuary cuts deep into the hearts of men and women alike, cultivating the worst in its denizens and leaving the world a dark, hopeless place. The main plot is similar to Diablo II in that it is a following in the footsteps of story kind of story. Specifically, the game's player characters are pursuing Lilith across Sanctuary. A core theme of the game is hatred, the motive of hate consuming the world and the hearts of the player characters. So that last sentence right there, I thought was, it has me intrigued at the core theme of the game is hate and how it's kind of consuming the world because, I mean, let's be real. We see a lot of that in the real world. So seeing a video game kind of tackle this theme is intriguing to me. So my take on it is, hey, if you like the previous Diablo games, you'll probably like Diablo IV, unless it steals from the financial success of Diablo Immortal and tries to turn the game into a game of microtransactions, which, if you don't know about it, Diablo Immortal actually received very strong criticism for its handling of microtransactions, with one report claiming it could cost players up to $110,000 to fully upgrade a character, which is absolutely insane, might I add. So, obviously, that's crazy, but as of November 4th, this is the most recent article I could find, Diablo Immortal has reportedly made over $300 million in revenue. And remember, this is a free-to-play game, meaning like you don't go buy it from the Apple Store for, $39.99. The game's free to play, but it's not free, It's never free. That's the thing. So, that $300 million figure all came from players spending money to advance in the game. I personally think it's sick, and I'm not a fan of microtransactions in games. And I'm really not a fan of like the free-to-play games because obviously it's complete BS. Everyone knows that in order to compete in a free-to-play game, you've got to pay. So simply not a fan of the business model, but to each their own. I mean, there's people who obviously spend the money to build these characters, and that's why the companies do this, and that's why they can get away with it. So it's a two-way street. Let's hope Diablo IV doesn't go down the path of darkness and instead chooses the path of light. So coming in next, we have a huge title for PS5, and that's Final Fantasy XVI, coming out on June 22nd. And, I want to kind of go over this story a little bit of the development, because I read through it and I thought it was very interesting and worth sharing. So as we know, it's an action role-playing game developed by Square Enix, the 16th main installment in the Final Fantasy series, scheduled to release in 2023 as a PS5 timed exclusive. So the game will feature segmented open environments and an action-based combat system involving both melee and magic-based attacks. There are also reoccurring series features including Chocobos and summon monsters called Icons, which are both fought as bosses and used through channeling their power in combat. So that's a little bit about the story. Beginning concept development in 2015. Yes, you heard that right, 2015. The staff included, now I'm probably going to butcher some names here, okay? Naoki Yoshida as producer, Hiroshi Takai as main director, artists Hiroshi Minagawa and Kazuya Takahashi as creative director and lead writer, and Masayoshi Soken as composer, and Capcom veteran Ryota Suzuki as battle designer. So Yoshida's aim was for a dark fantasy storyline which would have broad appeal and reinvigorate the series. Its production and promotion was then impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and later by the invasion of Ukraine. Takai's main goal for the game was an action-based combat that was easy to use and a mature narrative that would tackle difficult themes and aim for a higher than average age rating, which I thought was interesting. Yoshida wanted the game to cater to neither children or adults, but rather something that will reach players of all generations. It was initially developed as a PS5 exclusive with a PS4 version being considered, but abandoned so as to not limit the team's ambitions. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the staff needed to move to remote working, and production ended up half a year behind schedule due to communication issues with both Square Enix head office and outsourcing companies. By late 2020, basic work on development and game scenarios was complete, and work was continuing on large-scale resources like boss battles and development tools. So by April 2022, development was in its final stages, with the team finalizing side quests. It was fully playable from start to finish by June of this year, with development focusing both on polishing the game and voice recording for different languages. So what I take from that is this is great news. The game was already completed in June, and they've just been putting layers of polish on the game. So when it does come out here in June of 2023, this game shouldn't have any bugs. It should play real nice. So that's always a positive thing, especially with game development these days. How many games that we've seen came out and they weren't ready? And these game companies say, oh, whatever, we'll just fix it with a patch. You know, Cyberpunk, prime example. Pokemon that just came out, prime example. So my take on it is try not to be confused by the fact that a game titled Final Fantasy now has 16 numbered titles. And if we include all the spin-offs, I looked this up earlier, we're looking at 120 titles since the first game released on the NES back on December 18th, 1987. So I'm stoked for Final Fantasy 16. My pre-order is already secured. I got it pre-ordered at Best Buy with the Steelbook. Now, I'm a little behind on my numbered entries, but I intend to play through all of them eventually. I'm hoping to play through Final Fantasy 15, so I'm ready for 16. Obviously, there's a lot of games coming out this year, so I'm hoping I can find the time to do so. But if you've played 15, you definitely got to get 16. This game looks amazing. So next up, we have a game that I'm super excited about. I think you will be super excited about it too when you hear about it. Now, the game's called Sea of Stars, and it's coming out sometime in 2023. It was supposed to come out in 2022, but of course, you know, that's come and gone by now. So we're hoping that it's going to be sometime early 2023. Now, this game started on Kickstarter, and I actually backed this game. So if you beat the game, my name will be in the end credits, which is really cool. I appreciate that. And basically what this game is, it's going to be a nod to the RPGs that a lot of us played growing up on Super Nintendo and PlayStation. And you can see it. These graphics. They're absolutely beautiful for modern day consoles. So we're basically getting, you know, the best of the Super Nintendo and PS1 era, but for modern day. And you'll see as the trailer plays, it just looks beautiful. But getting to the synopsis from the actual developers, they even mention in here that their goal was to make a turn-based RPG that would pay homage to the greats of the 90s while bringing enough novelty to be its own thing. So, I mean, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to give us what we want, which is awesome. So my take on this is, you know, I think Sea of Stars art style is absolutely beautiful. It looks like it could be the perfect culmination of many of our favorite RPGs, you know, from the 16 and 32-bit era, but with modern day technology, music, gameplay, etc. So I've watched everything I can on this game, and I've listened to a few of the music tracks that are available as a preview on the official website. One of the composers of this game, it might be the main one, he worked on Chrono Trigger, which, you know, mad respect to that game. So pretty cool that he's working on this game. And, you know, I'm just trying to like keep my hype level in check. But as more news comes out about this game, I get more excited. So again, I don't know when it's actually coming out. All we know is early to mid 2023. So fingers crossed that this game lives up to its potential as I have a feeling it could turn out to be something really special. All right, now last but certainly not least is Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. And I'm super excited for this. If you grew up playing Final Fantasy back on regular Nintendo and Super, you're going to want this. So basically what you're getting is Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster. So the audio and video has been remastered. The games look great for what they are. And this is going to be one of the best ways, probably the best way to play it and best way to have these games preserved for a long time. So my take on it is, I was lucky enough to get my hands on at least the Switch physical collector's edition. So basically, Square put this up for pre-order. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago on a Sunday morning. And I just happened to be up because I was driving home from Sedona and I got up early at like 3:30 and we drove back down to Phoenix, went to breakfast in the morning. I got on Twitter and I saw that Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster just kind of shadow dropped for a pre-order. So it was only like 5:30 in the morning. I went on, I checked the website, and I was able to get one of the collector's editions secured, pre-ordered. So thankful for that. That's super cool. But why do I care about these old games? I mean, to me, they're timeless adventures. And again, this is going to be the best way to play them. And I also think it's going to be fun to like hunt down all the trophies in the PlayStation 4 edition. I bought it on Switch, the collectors. I don't even know if I'm going to open it, to be honest with you. I might hold on to it just for a long time with no intentions of doing anything with it. But for the PS4 version, I'll probably buy that digitally on the PlayStation Store. And I'm definitely going to try to, get all the trophies and beat these games again. Because it's been a very long time and I seriously don't remember the ins and outs of all these games and the finer details. So it's good. I've forgotten a lot. It'll be like playing it again for the first time, which is exactly what I want. And the good news is, hey, these are coming out in a few months, spring 2023. Hey, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, first off, I want to give you a big thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully I showed you some games that you weren't aware of and that weren't on your radar. Hopefully they now are. So there's tons of games coming out in 2023, as you can see. I hope you are excited for them. I hope you get to play some of them. I hope you can find the time. If you liked what you saw today, please do me a favor and please like, share, and subscribe. Send this video to your friends and family. Get it out there. That way it can hit the algorithms and I can get some more subscribers. And I hope you look forward to the next videos. I have many planned for 2023. Have a great day.